The Nature Boy Ric Flair has made his AEW Dynamite debut. Years in the making, it feels like. He was the gift given by Tony Khan to Sting for his retirement. We're going to get into what we think about this particular segment and where this can go, man. What's up, people? My name is Mekz, the WrestleManiac, if you will, back again on Revolution Radio duty alongside my co-host, NK.
Yo, people, it's your boy NK, aka the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, aka the Hood Japanese correspondent. But, we are not alone today. We are with, a very special guest, friend of the show. It's been a long time coming, man. So, without further ado, I'm going to let the man himself introduce himself.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Ibou of Wrestle Purists, better known to many of you guys on Twitter as Back to Bang Man. And making my first ever appearance on the WRESTHINGS channel, man. I've always been a fan of the channel. I've been an admirer from a distance for a while, and so I was more than happy to take time out of my busy schedule to kind of chat with the guys, man. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to get into Dynamite, and I thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming, bro.
Appreciate
it's
you coming
definitely
on,
it was a big episode today, and obviously there's definitely some stuff, some hot stories coming out of it. So it was a great time to make this happen and get you involved. So yeah, everyone, as we kind of get into the conversation, drop your comments in the chat box. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. And yeah, let's get into this big story. We had Tony Schiavone that was in the ring. He called out, called for Sting, called for Darby Allin. Sting took to the mic, and Sting was telling the story of, how grateful he is for Philadelphia as well. He didn't want to miss out Philadelphia and the instrumental part the fans of Philadelphia played in his career. He gave thanks for Darby Allin, saying that he's the best tag team partner that he's had throughout his career, which is obviously high praise, knowing the career that Sting has had. And Tony Schiavone interrupted him to present to him this gift that Tony Khan had promised from last week to Sting as, I guess, part of his retirement. And the gift was none other than the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Very interesting to see Ric Flair in AEW. I think we know when we probably should have seen him in alliance with Andrade around the manager staff. And obviously, I think Dark Side of the Ring coincided with around that time. And, AEW opted to not use Ric Flair right then when his name was, I guess, being dragged a bit at the time. But now I guess they see it as a better time to bring him to prominence back on TNT and TBS and involve him with this last run of Sting. I guess before we go any further, Ibou, do you want to kind of just talk on your thoughts of Ric Flair coming in at this time? Was it a good gift?
Oh man, it's a lot. I think that it's funny because in the back of my mind, and I said this to friends in the past, and they were like, no way. I always felt that someday Ric Flair would appear on AEW television. I always felt it. And the reason I thought that was because Tony Khan is a big fan of him, and he is a legendary figure in the industry. And ultimately, the way the wrestling industry operates is promoters wait till the heat dies down, usually for things, and then they just kind of do what they always wanted to do. And so in the case of Ric Flair, I didn't expect him to be the gift, to be honest. But when it happened, it was like, all right. My opinion is I have like a couple things in my head at the same time. Number one is the objective fact is that Ric Flair is one of the most important people in the history of wrestling, and he is the key figure in Sting's career, right? But at the same time, it is also just a straight up fact that he has numerous allegations of sexual misconduct. And so that's the thing that held him back from coming 2 years ago. And so that doesn't just go away just because it's been 2 years later. It's apparent that, again, Tony just kind of waited for it to die down. And that plus the fact that I'm assuming this was a favor to Sting. I'm assuming Sting kind of wanted this, is why he did it. And one of the truths of this industry, guys, is that relative to how important and famous you are, you can almost get away with anything. You know what I mean? Like, if Ric Flair was a fodder wrestler who never did anything, right, he would just be like canceled forever, you know? But because he's Ric Flair and he's in the rap videos and he's in the football commercials and stuff, and he's still around and stuff, you know, and all that, and he's like a big pop culture icon, it's almost like the guy gets a free pass, so to speak. And I'm not saying that to justify it or even to say that that's a good thing at all. I don't make these rules, but that's just kind of how the industry operates. So am I surprised? Not necessarily. And that's, it just kind of is what it is, you know. I've seen a lot of mixed reactions. Some people are just excited to see Rick. I've seen people who are very, very disturbed by this. And they're totally within their right to feel that way. You know what I mean? For me, and I was telling a friend this, if you want to play the morality game in wrestling, right? If you want to do that, then you have to be consistent. That's my thing. You know what I mean? And so I say that because, like, Tony Khan kind of used the Vince McMahon stuff 2 weeks ago as a dunk, right? And I had no problem with him saying anything he said because nothing he said was wrong. But at the same time, if you're going to do that, then you have to keep the same energy in general. You feel me? And by bringing in Rick, then you're not keeping the same energy. You're basically just kind of saying that I want to just use that as a way to own that one Twitter troll rather than like, oh, I actually care, you know? But yeah, Ric Flair says he's going to be part of Sting's his journey for his retirement. So I'm presuming then we're going to be seeing him in and out on these TVs until Revolution. There was a tease of him getting in the ring. I doubt he's going to get in the ring. His I don't know if you guys caught his last match last year with Andrade against.
God forbid.
That was pretty farcical, to be honest with you. The dude, like, I'm pretty sure he literally died in the ring and then like woke back up at the end. Like,
doesn't Ric Flair have a pacemaker?
Yeah, the dude has a pacemaker. So yeah, I doubt he's getting in the ring. I could see them doing what they did with Keiji Muto in his retirement, because he faced Tetsuya Naito in his last match, and then he calls out Chono in the crowd, and then they do like a fake last match for like 2 minutes at the end. And I would not be surprised, to be honest with you, because Ric Flair is fucking insane. I would not be surprised if Sting had his last match, whatever it is scheduled to be at Revolution, and he's just like, Nate, one last time, showtime, let's do it, or whatever. Yeah. He does this fucking thing, and then Ric Flair walks in and he's laughing and shit. He limps to the ring all slow and ginger, throws a couple shitty chops, and then, you know, figure four and reversal and whatever the fuck, and it's the end of Sting's career. So yeah, man, I think this happened because Tony just has that much reverence for Sting that he just decided, I'm going to give Sting what he wants, and I'll just accept the heat that comes with it.
Yeah, that sounds fair. For me, I understand this is for Sting, and Ric Flair is a legend. You know, I know what he's done and everything like that, and the allegations around it. But you know, you still kind of say, "Oh, cool, Ric Flair," and then it sets in what's happening, you know, with the guy, sort of thing. And then he's like, yeah, I don't know how much I'm really allowed to celebrate this or be happy about this. I genuinely felt as a gift, I thought a TNT title opportunity, because it's all TNT and all of that stuff, would have been fine. I thought that would have sufficed, but they've opted for this. NK, what did you feel with Ric Flair coming in?
I can't lie, when I first saw Ric Flair, I was like, makes sense. But then I immediately remembered, I was like, wait, you can't doubt. I said, wait. It wasn't even the fact that, like Ibou said, it wasn't even the fact that, cool, yes, Ric Flair's allegations are heinous, they're mad. But it's the fact that Tony Khan, you literally tweeted like a week, like 2 weeks ago,
You know what I'm saying?
about Vince and stuff, and then like weeks later you pull this out, and it's like the timing is bad on you, like on you, because like you went out and made a personal statement. It would have been bad in general because the allegations on Rick, but now that you came out and made a statement of morality saying, hey, I stand on this side, I don't agree with people who do stuff like this, and then bring out someone who has alleged activity, it's a bit mad. But contextually it does make sense for Sting. And during his retirement run, I expect to see a lot more legends. You know, obviously there are some legends from WCW like that are very like, I know Kevin Nash made a statement that he won't appear on AEW and stuff like that. So maybe, you know, a lot of the guys that, you know, have ties to WWE that in NWO won't appear with Sting. But I expect to see a lot of guys from Sting's past appear on Dynamite regularly. So I would have preferred if they announced this of Sting gets a visit from a special friend or something like that. But you know, I with these announcements, I take everything with not even a pinch of salt, like five tea bags of salt, because it's just like, fam, I don't know what I'm getting. But Ric Flair was like, you know what, it's not it's disappointing morally, but as I come out, I was like, you know what, fair enough. Like, I don't really mind. It is what it is.
It's funny. Dave Meltzer just a couple of days ago when they were talking about this announcement, he was basically saying that like Tony's an announcement merchant because they're hyping it up. They were hyping it up like, oh, Tony has this big surprise and a gift for the Sting, and on the YouTube AEW Control Center, Tony Schiavone was like,
yeah,
he's gonna bring us something never before seen.
Yeah,
Professional wrestling and Dynamite. He's gonna bring a crate, like, you know. It's just Ric Flair walking out there with his 19 chains on and stuff. One more thing on the when it comes to the moral game, like what I just to clarify for people, what I mean by this is that, to be completely frank with you guys, like I've been following this industry since I was basically a toddler, right? And one of the realities of it is just it's a carny business, and promoters are just going to do what they do, right? And so I kind of understand that when I consume professional wrestling, right? And so, you know, if like when promoters do potentially, you know, arguably scumbag stuff, like I just chalk it up to professional wrestling being professional wrestling, right? But if you straight up publicly position yourself as like, we're the good guys that don't do that wrestling bullshit, then you have to do that. You know, you can't position yourself as that for like 1 week and then like just be like, anyways, he's styling and profiling. There's a nature boy on Dynamite. It's like, all right. It's just then you're just a wrestling company.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm looking forward to how this Sting retirement tour goes, because the guy's still a fucking beast, man. I mean, his promo last night to Edge backstage, you know.
Yeah.
It
was very good.
What a goat, you know.
It was very good. Like, yeah, just to get there. You know, Ric Flair, obviously he comes in, he talks about the history, Clash of the Champions. He said he wants to basically be on the road with Sting until the end, which is, you know, Revolution next year, like he said. We're interrupted, of course, by Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, Nick Wayne. Christian Cage had some choice words to say about Ric Flair and if he should be alive, if there's a God, he wouldn't be alive, and all of this kind of stuff. They lay out the gauntlet for what is going to be a 6-man tag with Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne going up against Sting, Darby, and obviously, again, he throws shade at Ric Flair, saying that, you know, he can't do it and stuff, so you need to find a third man, which, as you just mentioned, Ibou, takes us to the backstage segment where Adam Copeland was having a interview with Renee Paquette, and Renee basically said, you know, after everything Christian has said and done, blah blah blah, you're not gonna fight him or whatever. Adam Copeland still maintaining that he's not going to lay hands or fight with him. And then obviously Darby and Sting delivered both impassioned promos to Adam Copeland, basically telling him to wake up and smell the coffee, that you need to, you know, this is kill or be killed sort of thing. Encouraging him, you know, to be involved and to basically be on their side against Christian, which I personally think will eventually happen. And maybe when they do this 6-man at Full Gear, it's just a case of those two won't touch. NK, do you feel like it will be Adam Copeland in the end? Do you feel this is for Ric Flair to put on the boots?
Yeah, I feel like it has. I think narratively, I think Adam Copeland's the right choice. The only other person I'd like, other figures I'd see are people from Sting's past, like close friends. But you got to remember, I think Sting's I think of his era, he's probably the only one wrestling. Like I think all of his peers, his contemporaries are done. Like they're either retired or quite tragically deceased. So it's like, yeah, the only person in canon right now that's gonna be is Adam Copeland. I don't know. Is there anyone else that Darby's been affiliated with or Sting's been affiliated with in the past that's free at the moment? I'm not sure.
Nothing comes to mind, but I can tell you this. To me, it seems pretty obvious and inevitable that Edge is the destination. What's interesting to me as the viewer is more so not if he's going to do it, because he's going to do it. It's what is it going to take to push Edge to that point where he has to fight Christian. He did the sit-down interview on TV either last week or the week before with Renee, and he basically broke down that, like, look, no matter what, like, I'm not fighting him. I'm not fighting Renee. I'm not going to get in the ring with him. And so we know that that's his character's stance on this whole thing. I'm not in AEW to fight Christian. I'm here to tag with him one last time and go off in the sunset. And so it's like, what is it going to take from Christian to push this man to the point where he's going to want to fight him? And I'm curious what that's going to be that like works for the story, because if you like, so far Edge has taken a very realistic and grounded approach in how he's portraying himself on TV. So he's acting like a real person, right? Whereas like Christian's like a James Bond villain, you know. So like it could go in very like varying directions. Like if you go full Christian with this, he could just be over the top and visit the guy's house or something, or like do something with Beth, you know, something like just comically evil, right? Or maybe, but the other way is I don't know, maybe he just pushes a button that's just way too far with Edge, but at the moment I don't know what that button is. So I'm very curious as to what causes Edge to change his mind.
I think that button might be like Christian going out of his way to injure Sting. Or because I remember like Adam Copeland's one of his, I think it was his first promo, he was talking about how, you know, him and Christian grew up idolizing Sting, used to get haircuts like Sting, like Sting's their idol. And I think maybe, I don't know, like Christian takes it beyond wrestling, like does an angle where, I don't know, a concerto or whatever, where, you know, he's really about to injure Sting, and then Adam comes to the defense of Sting and ends up attacking Christian, which causes a brawl. Something like that. I think Sting's gonna be the pivot, because if you notice after the promos, Adam Copeland was considering like, damn, like, you know, my idol's basically telling me that I need to pick a side.
Even though he's in bad shape now, Edge mentioned Lex Luger also when he was talking in his first promo. He was saying how like we wanted to be like Sting and Luger. We got the haircuts and da 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 da. And Luger's a huge part of Sting's career. Like I could you imagine? Even though he's in really bad shape these days, I'm pretty sure he's in a wheelchair. Could you imagine if Luger visited a Dynamite to like just honor Sting or something, and Christian was just like teasing, doing something really heinous to the guy? And then that's when Edge is like, all right, bro, like you are absolutely
yeah, that's enough.
Yeah.
It may take something just like that. But yeah, Ric Flair's in the company at least till March 2024. Never had that on my bingo card. Didn't see that coming. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. The thing I always give AEW is that their management of these elder statesmen has always been exemplar. Very, very good. So yeah, we'll see if that continues here. We'll go to the beginning of the show. Obviously, the show emanating from Philadelphia this past week. MJF, good, a cold open. He's here promoting. Obviously, he's about to take on Juice Robinson with the Dynamite Diamond Ring on the line. He calls Adam Cole with Renee Paquette. Adam Cole finally answers the phone. He's chuffed about that. But he doesn't get to speak to him for long before Roderick Strong rolls in. Max. Basically saying he's going to be, enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing. I'll have your back against Bullet Club Gold. MJF pushes him in his wheelchair off screen and heads down, you know, to the ring for his match. So this match, the Juice Robinson MJF match, I thought was really good. It was a really good opener. Again, it's one of these times when we just don't expect, like, you're always kind of taken aback. You see MJF wrestles, like, we know at this point he can wrestle, but because it's still kind of something looked after, protected, we don't see it on a regular basis like that. Although this is probably the most regular he's ever wrestled. You just see some great stuff. He's got the kangaroo kick over and all of that kind of stuff. There was a bit of color from Juice Robinson, which, yeah, again, I feel it was wisely used. The Guns got involved with all their kind of trickery. At the same time, MJF is still the scumbag he says he is, using the Dynamite Diamond Ring and Heat Seeker to put away Juice Robinson and maintain or retain a ring 5 years in a row now. Anyone want to give any comments on this match, or what they thought of this match before we get into the afters?
I was a fan of the match. I thought that Max, you know, I hate when, like, there's a build to a match that would suggest that it should be worked like a grudge match, and they start off with like a collar and elbow tie up, and they're just having like respectful exchanges of like wrestling holds and things like that. Like, the guy was shitting all over you, and like you should be wanting to get at him, and Max did that. Like, he went full like John Moxley on this dude, and he doesn't normally work that way, and that was 100% deliberate. So yeah, man, you got rare color. Well, rare color from a Max match, not like rare color for AEW, but you got some color. You know, he threw him around the place. He's beating his ass and all that type of stuff. A lot of old school style, just kind of babyface tricks in the match, between, like, you know, banging his head on the turnbuckles and, you know, the corner punches and all that type of stuff. But super heated. And also, another thing I took note of was this Dynamite was their best house in a minute. Like, there was like over like 5,000 fans in Philly, and
yeah,
there was a noted difference in atmosphere. You could notice it. Like, the crowd felt loud and lively and raucous, and it added to everything, including this opener. So I actually, from the wrestling itself, I thought this opener was really, really good.
Yeah. NK, anything?
Yeah, I like the energy of this match. I feel with Max, MJF's kind of been, like, I wouldn't say a contentious subject right now, but he's been semi-divisive amongst fans. I think some fans, you know, didn't like the Brochacho stuff. Some of the fans were thinking some of the work was getting a bit too gimmicky and hokey. And I feel like this match was like back to basics, and I really enjoyed it. It was like, MJF is still, like, you know, his character's, I'm the scumbag, I'm the people scumbag. So he's still gonna do underhanded tactics like cheat, the eye poke, but the work was sudden, like what Ibou said. Like, this was a grudge match. Like, obviously, I know they dropped the whole anti-Semitic undertones of the feud, but that stuff was still there. In terms of, like, it was the motivation that gave MJF the fire that he had in this match, and that fire came through, you know. And I like seeing MJF have, you know, a more serious tinge to his character, because I think when MJF is pissed off, is at his best. We saw it in the Punk feud. We've seen it in several different feuds. When MJF is locked in, he's phenomenal, and I feel like this was a really good opener. And Juice Robinson, man, he's somebody, like, when he first joined AEW, like, Mekz could attest to this. I was not I was not pretty pleased with it, because I feel in New Japan I'd taken a liking to some of his work, but was very hit or miss. And the initial run of his in AEW didn't really work for me. But him and just Bullet Club Gold as a whole, just them as a faction, man, I want to see big things for them, and they're doing great things now. But I want to see this sustained, because them as an act, and specifically Juice Robinson as an act, man, I can't take my eyes off him, man. Like, he's just, everything he does, like, I'm glued to. So yeah, man, I thought this was a great opener.
He's very entertaining, and just to not forget, Jay White obviously came out during a period of that match. He joined the commentary team. He was very good. Post match, there was a beatdown. The Guns jumped in, beat down MJF. The Kingdom then got involved and came to beat up the Guns. And then the Acclaimed came out when the Kingdom got dispatched off. The Acclaimed came out to take their back. By then, the Bullet Club Gold had made their way up the ramp. Jay White had some words for MJF. Then the Guns took to the mic and they challenged MJF for the ROH Tag Team Championships. Am I right in saying that's at Full Gear? As well as his title match, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. To be honest, I don't mind if Max loses those titles in a valiant effort against the two of them. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. He's going to wrestle twice again on the card, like we saw at All In. And then, of course, the Acclaimed, they're still talking about this 4-on-4 match, and the Acclaimed are pitching Max Caster front and center, pitching why he should join with them. MJF doesn't like Max, says I never liked you, and all of this kind of stuff. Max is trying to get him to scissor. He doesn't do that. Crowd aren't happy. Max walks away. As Max is walking up the aisleway, Kenny Omega's music hits. Kenny Omega comes out. I'm so gassed every time I see Kenny Omega. Like, comes out, and he basically puts across his point that yes, in a matter of days, you could beat my streak, but because of that should basically make me entitled to have a match with you. And the match is set this Saturday on Collision. It's going to be MJF versus Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. There's some nice back and forth between the two, and Kenny really gets him icing on the cake at the end of it, whispering into his ear, 3 days, bitch, just like, I think, what was it, a week or two ago when MJF whispered into his ear. I think it was 13 days at the time. Yeah. Obviously, there's more stuff coming MJF's way, and we know right now Jay White has the title, and that's going to be on Full Gear. Kenny Omega on Saturday. We saw a segment with Samoa Joe and MJF later on in the night. I'm loving all the competitors from every angle. It just feels like you mentioned, NK, MJF's the title run kind of went a bit off course with the Adam Cole and the Bro Chacho stuff again, but now like the seriousness and the reverence that they've always treated the AEW World title has kind of come back with these heavy hitters and big names in and around gunning for MJF. I guess, is anyone here expecting anything other than an MJF win on Saturday night?
No, I think that's where it's going. I thought Kenny changed the energy of this whole segment. You know what I mean? This was very busy. Like the post-match section of this was very busy and went in like a bunch of different directions. It felt like they had this. It felt like Tony Khan told Max, "Yo, put together something that builds to this match, this match, this match, and this match. You got 12 minutes. Go ahead." And yeah, like because they set up the ROH match, they set up the whole story beat. Well, they continued the one with the Acclaimed. They furthered Max not fucking with Roderick Strong. They continued the build, obviously, with Max wanting his Triple B back from Jay White, and then ultimately Kenny Omega versus MJF for the record on Collision. I don't think Kenny beats Max. But yeah, that's I don't think that's what happens there. I don't know where you guys stand on this, but like my feelings on what was happening varied literally from like section to section. So like the Acclaim's involvement in this is like I'm kind of like in the middle on that, and I outright dislike Wheelchair Roderick Strong at this point. Like it's just not for me. And I think it's kind of insane and hilarious that like Roddy goes to the wrestling company, so to speak, and doesn't wrestle anymore. But I love the Kenny stuff. I mean, that's just big time. Kenny Omega, he's somebody that should always be in a prominent position on AEW programming because it's fucking Kenny Omega, know. And so him in a big match is great. I think he's underrated as a talker, to be honest with you. People don't really rate him as a promo, but I love most of his live promos on Dynamite. And I'd welcome more of them, and I thought he did really good last night, and so I'm excited for that.
We've been kind of answering this over the last few weeks. I mean, we even spoke to Charlie about this when she was on the show. Like, what is it going to take to treat Kenny Omega like Kenny Omega again? Like, why are we waiting for this as fans? And yeah, just as you pointed out, Ibou, like, I love the fact that MJF, that is, he literally went from defending the Dynamite Diamond Ring he couldn't even walk out the place without challenges and all kinds of other stuff happening. Jay White with the AEW World Title stuff. Colton Gunn with the Ring of Honor tag team title. He gets to the top of the ramp, thinks he's home and dry. Kenny Omega comes again now with the AEW World Title stuff. I just thought it was really kind of well done segments back to back through line, literally telling that story that wrestlers always tell us, you know, it's a different thing once you're champion. Now you have to defend these titles. He literally had, you know, like 20 minutes of trying to escape this building with you know, his stuff intact. Sorry, NK, you had something to say.
No, I was gonna say one with the Roderick Strong stuff. I feel like the ship was missed. I feel like we should have got a Roderick Strong and MJF match. I was like, when they were doing the whole tournament to Grand Slam, as much as I love Joe to death. I would have preferred narratively if it was Roderick Strong, because it would have created that tension between, hey, what side is Adam Cole on? You've literally got two of your best friends fighting each other. But now, like, Roderick Strong has gone from like, okay, it's a funny joke to like, okay, full on self-parody at this point. And it's like, it's gonna just go back to wrestling. Just go back to actually wrestling. And Kenny Omega, I'm tired of the humbleness. Sometimes, yeah, do you know what? Sometimes it's okay to book yourself to the top. It's okay to be a Cardi. It's okay to be like, push yourself to the top, Kenny. Allow this humble, I'm gonna take myself out of the limelight. At the end of the day, the company's called All Elite Wrestling. There are other people in the company, of course. You want to build new stars. But Kenny, I need you to go and watch Triple H tapes from 2000s and really put yourself in prominent positions. And Tony Khan booked Kenny as Kenny. And I feel like this match on Collision, and even the match on Collision, AEW for a while now, like I remember when the whole ethos of AEW when it first started was, hey, we're a company that's going to give you banger matches, and we're going to treat some of our TV shows like pay-per-views. You're going to get pay-per-view level matches on TV. The days of, hey, everyone thinks of obviously Omega versus Danielson, but then you get Omega versus Pac on TV in an Iron Man match. Then we get some of these lights out matches that are happening on selected Dynamite. So this is what AEW was as a TV show, whether it's Dynamite or Collision. We're gonna give you pay-per-view quality matches on TV, and that MJF Kenny Omega match is a pay-per-view main eventer easily. My hope is, and I know they've already done a draw finish with Adam Cole and MJF this year, but I feel like this is a match where I'd want to see it again on pay-per-view, and I'd want them to revisit again. So I don't know, to protect Kenny or to protect MJF, maybe you do a draw, but I know they've gone into that well this year as well. So I'm not too sure. But then if Kenny like wins, does that interfere? Not wins, but if Kenny doesn't lose, does that interfere with the Don Callis storyline? My one hope is that I don't want interference in this match. There will be, but I kind of just want them to wrestle. Like, no bells and whistles, just plain wrestling. Let's have like a decisive finish or a draw. But none of this DQ stuff. If the match ends in a DQ, I'll be livid.
It's not going to be a DQ, but I doubt it's just straight up they wrestle and somebody hits a move in a fence. I think the habit that American wrestling has gotten into, because I pay attention to people's booking habits and trends, and Vince McMahon was very much announce a big match and just ended in a no contest or a DQ. Who gives a shit? And Triple H and Tony Khan's booking is, no, we'll do a finish. It ain't gonna be clean, but we'll do a finish. And so, when notable guys have matches on TV, there's always a faction of interference, or some guy that the wrestler is feuding with will get involved. So I'd expect some Bullock of Gold shenanigans. I might expect some Don Callis family shenanigans here. So ultimately, something like that's going to happen that'll set Kenny on his Full Gear path, and that'll probably cost him the match. And then Max just retains.
Yeah, that's what I think. Cool, but yeah, very much looking forward to that match on Saturday night. Should be a good one regardless. Following this segment, we also had Wardlow, another MJF contender. He talked about, you know, how he's in a dark place and how MJF has now gone on to become the face of the company, and obviously he wants revenge on MJF. So that's another man gunning for MJF. Following this segment, we had the next match on the show: Hook and Rob Van Dam up against Dark Orders, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver. Just a bit of a fun match. I can't see past anything other than giving Rob Van Dam an audience in Philadelphia for this one. Good stuff. Van Daminator got hit on Evil Uno. We saw him hit a 5-star frog splash on Alex Reynolds, and then John Silver got put in the red rum for the finish. Anyone got anything on this to add?
Rob is like moving better than he did at the end of his TNA run. I don't know where that's coming from, but
he looks fitter. He looks fitter for sure than his TNA run.
That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at him. I'm like Rob's kind of moving all right. I'm moving all right. Other than that, nothing much to say here. But it was just a nice little thing to pop the fans.
Yeah. Cool. What do you think we do with Hook at this point? I think Hook.
That's a great question.
Because I think Hook started off like as, hey, okay, this kid's got promise. And then, at a certain point, okay, we had enough of the Scotch matches. Then he was kind of stripped off TV. And then they brought him back with the Jungle Boy stuff. Jungle Boy's off TV. I think he should have retired the FTW title, in my opinion. I don't think that title... I think the story beat would have been nice to be like, hey, I took my father's title. Now I'm going to be the one to retire it and move on to better things. But he still got the title for now. Cool. But what is next for him? Because I think he's evolved. Like, they're actually putting him in actual matches now, which is good, instead of like the exhibitions he was in before. But yeah, like where does Hook fit in at this point?
It's a great question. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think he needs to do indies or something. I think he needs like just more matches, because although he's now getting into more storyline led stuff in AEW, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. Like it's kind of fodderish at the same time. Like the Jungle Boy stuff was relatively good to help, obviously, more so establish Jungle Boy. But I just don't think there's much availability for him to do much in AEW. So maybe he just needs to get the reps in elsewhere. Ibou, what are you thinking?
I don't know. I just know that he came in with so much fanfare, and the fans really loved him and memed him before he even got in the ring, and that's why he was so over at the beginning. But he wasn't at a level in ring to where they could push him past the point of just doing slashes. But now, 2 years later, it's time to either shit or get off the pot with Hook. And I almost feel like the company's afraid of finding out for sure if he's going to actually be something. Like, I feel like you could easily position him in a way where it's like, all right, now let's actually like put you in some real programs and some serious matches with some real time, and find out if you're actually going to be a player, or if this is just kind of what you are. And they could do that, but I feel like they're almost afraid of finding out. I feel like they're comfortable in what he is, which is just a nice small little pop here and there on the shows. I think that they like that he's just like that, and they could have that. And I feel like they're afraid of seeing if he could be anything more. But I know for me personally, I was really enthusiastic for Hook when he first kind of was doing his thing. And at this point, the appeal is worn thin, because it's like we've seen everything there is to see about this version of Hook. So I'm I don't have the answers either. I'm just curious as to whether they're going to actually try to take this somewhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, and obviously with his dad being there as well, it will be hard to make any kind of, like you say, decision of, are we going to push him, or do we need to get rid of him, or anything like that. Right. While his dad is still kind of there, which won't be easy.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying, like, I feel like they're afraid, because I feel like they don't want the uncomfortable situation of, all right, maybe he just doesn't have it, and maybe we don't renew him, or maybe we do this and that, and then Taz gets pissed about that type of thing, Exactly. So
yeah, we'll have to see how Hook goes. Moving on, we had Tony Storm's new movie play during the commercial. We need to talk about this, guys, because like at first, I think the character, when she was being allowed to maybe do stuff on TV more so, was entertaining, and in the matches entertaining. Obviously, last few weeks, there's been these short films during the picture-in-picture on my feed anyway, and it's like we're now not getting that from the character, and I feel like I'm missing something. And I don't know now, especially with, it looks like she's going to be in a title picture come Full Gear. how does this character interact with her contenders, her other women, other women in the division? I just feel like something that started so fun. Now I'm just not sure where it's going. It's not like I'm down on it. I just don't know where it's going anymore.
I think it's jumped the shark, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because, at first I was like, oh, she's kind of being this like, she's kind of losing her mind a little bit about losing the belt, and she's having these quirky, entertaining interviews, and it was kind of unlocking a bigger side of her personality. And I was all for it the way everybody was. But what I think is a recent trend in AEW is like, when like something gets over with like Twitter, like just something that's kind of quirky or unique or just offbeat and kind of funny, they go like, oh, let's just like do that now on purpose every week. I feel like sometimes these things happen organically. And now it's like, for example, I don't know if you guys have noticed this because this is not a bigger one, but like maybe a month ago, Hook just started nonchalantly eating chips during interviews with Orange Cassidy. And they're like, oh, that's funny. Let's eat chips every week now. And now with this, it's like, just Tony Storm being Tony Storm and doing a watch for the shoe. And now they're like, now she's going to be a starlet. And now it's going to make it black and white. And then, the movies. And now it's to a point where she's walking out there across from Sheeta. And Sheeta's looking like, what the fuck is this lady doing? And she's like whimsically dancing on the stage. And it's switching from black and white to non-black and white. And I'm like, what? Is this like 2018 WWE? Like, it's not AEW to me in the sense that like she's not acting like a real person anymore.
No.
And like, WWE is the land where people are just like occupations and characters that like, kind of don't really make sense in the context of a wrestling promotion where you're trying to win championships, but they still exist anyway. And so it's jumped the shark for me in that sense. I think it's kind of my other thing is like I don't get it in that like what's supposed to be like funny now, like because first it was like I said, it was like she's just acting distressed and like delusional and paranoid, right? Now she's just like doing wacky things in a black and white filter, like last week she ate a banana with the peel on, and I'm like, am I supposed to laugh? Like I don't get it. You're a Nickelodeon character, like okay, I got all right, like
yeah,
I don't know. She seems like she wants to be on like Drake and Josh or like SNL. I don't know if I don't know.
NK, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is it's the problem, and I put a tweet out. I think the problem with these like wacky characters with AEW is that there's nobody there. I think Tony Khan with AEW is very much somebody freedom of expression, right? And AEW, when we see freedom of expression done well, heck, we see the elite storylines, we see people like John Moxley. When people like that are able to creatively cook, they whip up great things. But then there's sometimes, this is why writers have editors, this is why all creative have people in the back of their ear saying, tone it down a bit. Because this is what happens. I feel Tony Storm had a good idea. And like what Ibou said, she saw, or AEW creatively saw that, hey, this is working, and took it to 100 when it didn't need to be 100. Not every dish you put on the pot, you need to put at boiling temperature. Sometimes let it simmer. Sometimes let things simmer. Just put things on a slow cook. And I feel like this right now, they've just turned the gas mark to 6 and just said, yeah, we're gonna go balls to the wall with this. And it's like it's gone beyond the realm of plausible. It's gone beyond the realm of plausibility. It's gone beyond the realm of reality. It's just like, okay, this is some silly stuff. This is some Fly Five fan house type stuff. Like we're just in an alternate dimension with this, because it's like you said, Mekz, how's she going to interact with actual characters? And I feel like her mental breakdown is fine. And I even feel like if you're gonna go down this route again, in terms of like, okay, she's gone fully insane, there could have been a lot more build up to her going fully insane to where she's hallucinating Hollywood pictures, if you're gonna take it down that route. But now it's just like, okay, like I don't know whether am I supposed to laugh? Am I supposed to take you seriously? I think you don't need. I feel like what you can do is just scale it back a bit. Just have her go, dude. I do like the interviews with RJC. Keep doing those. If you want to keep the interviews in black and white, that's fine. For aesthetic reasons, that's fine. but at least let the madness have a motivation. Because right now, out of these segments, what I want out of these segments is, what does Toni Storm want? What's her objective? If these silent films were like if the silent films had text saying, "Hey, this person's next," or "I want this," right?
It feels like that's a good point, because it feels like she's just making them to make them because like they're just fun to do for her. Like it feels like she's just having fun acting this way, and I get that. But like I feel like what's not being prioritized when making them is like, how does this fit into the context of a wrestling show in terms of furthering what I'm actually doing on the program? Like, it feels like she just has fun doing them. She tells Tony, I did another one with RJ, and they're like, oh, cool, we'll put that one on the commercial. And it's like, okay, like one day, like if that's all right, then why can't fucking Ethan Page get his toy vlogs on the show or something? Like, if we could just do our little vanity projects on fucking things, but
yeah, it's I'm just very intrigued, like. You know, it's definitely a WWEism, like you said, Ibou, like, oh, something made the crowd laugh once, let's go all the way in on it. Like, and yeah, I think they've accelerated this one a bit too far. But we'll see. Obviously, she's got the Full Gear match against, there's gonna be a number one contender match on Rampage, and we'll see where that goes from there. We had Chris Jericho backstage. He had an interview with Renee Paquette, and you know, Chris Jericho was talking about, you know, is he kind of getting past it at this point? Renee spoke highly of, you know, all his iterations and his ability to change and adapt and stuff like that. Jericho was kind of talking about, you know, he's thinking of getting some revenge on Hobbs, and he's going to enlist somebody that is bigger than Hobbs. Now, most fans like myself, Paul White immediately came to mind. You know, they had the whole Jerry show thing back in WWE. NK, who could this person be, or who do you think it is?
I thought Paul White, but when I thought like available big men, my mind went blank. Honestly, this is a long shot, absolute long shot. What's the status of a Bill Goldberg?
Jeez. Because I mean, it's more probably long shot because of their history, right? More so than I don't think it's impossible, but their history is
that'd be really funny. I can't even lie to you.
Because I know Tony's spoken highly of him, and I thought, okay, maybe we might get him at an all or something. And that would be heck. But then I'm already thinking about it logistically. If you're gonna bring in the Goldberg, are you gonna have him lose to Will Hobbs? And I'm not gonna have Goldberg pin Will Hobbs. I don't know if I want that.
Yeah.
Paul White is probably somebody where, like, size wise, you can bring in, and you know, he's a name that Will Hobbs can beat, because I feel like Will Hobbs needs to take the W. With whoever Chris Jericho brings in, because I feel like with Will Hobbs, it's kind of like stop, start. Yeah. And to be fair, this is the biggest program he's probably been on. In terms of like feuding with guys like Jericho and being, you know, interwoven with the likes of Kenny Omega and so on and so forth. But I feel like with Will Hobbs, he's one of those guys where you got to pull the trigger on him. Like, you got to give him something meaningful. So yeah, win over Paul White and another win over Jericho will do that. But I don't know. With Jericho, obviously I've always spoken about the Jericho vortex, the Jericho cycle, where it starts off going one way. All right, you're born into something, and then it turns into this just mess.
Merry-go-round.
Whatever. Merry-go-round. So like it happens sometimes. It doesn't happen every feud. It's like it happens every other feud. I'm hoping this is one of the feuds it skips. So yeah, I hope the Jericho vortex misses this one.
Ibou, any advances on Paul White? Anyone else you got in mind?
I think that's what this points to be honest with you, even though that kind of automatically takes us in a slightly silly direction. Just the idea of Paul White being back in the ring. Goldberg seems like a long shot, and other than that, I'm not really sure. Jericho filed the trademark Jericho show a few months ago. So yeah, he did do that. So I think that's where this goes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll see. I don't think we'll probably have long to wait on that. Back in the ring, we had the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles being defended. The Young Bucks and Hangman Page, the Hung Bucks, the Elite, whatever you want to call them, versus the Hardys and Brother Zay. NK and the Hardys.
Yo.
Like this match, like, was literally. I was watching this match thinking, why are they doing this? And I totally forgot about Swerve being a factor. I think the matches was okay. Like, it was okay. They just went through the paces, and the Bucks done their thing. BTE trigger for the win on Zay, and they retained. And as they were celebrating, we go to the Titron. Swerve and Prince Nana breaking in, I guess, to Hangman's house. Hangman's face drops. He leaves the ring. He's watching the screen, but he's darting up the ramp as well. He goes backstage. He's obviously going to make his way home. They've broken into his house and they're looking around the house, and Swerve is basically big on the whole revenge that Hangman has costed him his opportunity to get to a title. So now he has to pay. He sees, as he goes into Hangman's house, he goes to the fridge, he sees Hangman's kid's drawing or something, says that the kid has no taste, that the family has no taste. He rips up the kid's painting, and at that moment I think they heard maybe the child in the house or something like that. Swerve makes his way, following the sound, upstairs into the child's room. You could hear the loud, audible gasp of, "This is ridiculous. This is heinous." As he puts the camera down, and you can see the cot, the baby's bed in the framing, and Swerve bending into the cot. I thought that was really well done in terms of videography, how it was shot, and then obviously the crowd added to it with their reaction. And he's basically talking over the bed. Prince Nana is literally saying, "No, boss, I don't think this is a good idea," or anything like that. He's left Prince Nana outside the room. Swerve is talking over the baby's bed, the baby's cot, basically saying that, to Hangman, someone's got to pay now that you've costed me my title. And it's more like a thing where he's telling the child that, "I'm going to batter your dad," sort of thing. He leaves one of his t-shirts in the cot before he takes the camera and then leaves. I thought this was, you know what? I was watching this praying to God that a black man didn't kidnap this child. I was just thinking, like, please don't just leave the child there. Like, do whatever you're gonna do, because we don't need this now on TV, whatever. But I thought this was really good, and we've been seeing like levels of, I don't want to say like straight up insanity, like he's Nikki Cross or someone, but that's just straight up kind of craziness happening within Swerve's head, from the stuff with Nick Wayne to the point where now he's doing home invasions and talking to babies, and like, it's really helping to take his character to a next level. In this segment really works for me. NK, what did you think of it?
I think I'm lukewarm on this segment. I'm not particularly a big fan of home invasions. And also in regards to Swerve's character, I think I don't really like when Swerve does, like, for lack of a better term, like super maniacal super villain. Yeah, I don't like it. Like, this was some Syndrome from Incredibles type stuff.
He does veer sometimes into like comic book villain a little bit,
Yes,
he does.
And I don't like when Swerve goes there, because I don't believe him when he's in that mode.
Fair enough.
I believe him more when he's like, okay, like, I'm a self-absorbed, arrogant, I think the world of myself type of person. I get that the segment did work for a lot of people online, fair enough, but when it comes to home invasion stuff, it's like, maybe it's me, I just ask too many questions. Where's the mother of this child?
Yeah.
Why is it 10 p.m. at night and the child is in the cot, but the house is empty? Like, irresponsible parenting. You know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking all of these type of things when it's going on. But it's the story beat that makes the feud personal, which I get, and it moves the story along. But for me, like the thing that separates this from the Nick Wayne one was like Nick Wayne was wrestling in a shack in the middle of nowhere. Like, cool, man, them can just pull up to that at any point in time and say, "What's up?" We were like, but the Helm invasion stuff just didn't work for me. And then, like I said, the whole comic book villain Swerve thing doesn't sit right with me. I didn't hate it, but it's just, that's just I was lukewarm on it. Like, I understood like narratively the purpose of it, but it didn't keep me on the edge of my seat or anything like that.
I think just before we go to Ibou, I think I definitely agree with you. There's an element of where we've even seen Swerve in these bits, like even with the Nick Wayne stuff. It was what's my man's name? AR Fox. He was the one that was on crud, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like I think we eventually need to see Swerve do the dirt for us to start believing him that he is able of doing some of this stuff. Yeah, I definitely agree with the comic book villain stuff as well. Ibou, what did you think of this segment?
I totally get what NK is saying, but at the same time, I just thought it was funny that he was talking shit to a baby. If I was in the writers' room or whatever, I would say, you know what you should have done? They should have been like some looping, like, you know, sounds for babies when you sleep fucking track going over, right? Where it's like baby sleep music, right? And it would have been perfect if he just removed the CD out of there and put his own fucking track in there and play and closed it. And you just hear like a fucking sinister version of just top rope, catch a vibe. And we play that in the kids' room and you get the fuck out of there. But nah, this was you know, home invasions are silly for all the reasons that were mentioned. You know what I mean? Like, so you brought a camera to film it, and then you got the producers of AEW Dynamite to air it live while like so is he hitting up the guy in a production truck like, hey, so I'm gonna crash into Hangman Page's house and I'm going to go in the room of his child and I'm going to be filming this and I want you to live stream this on the Titantron of your broadcast while these guys are in the ring. Can you do that for me? And he would go, no, that's illegal. We would not do that for you. But you know, there's that, and how did he get in? Where's the mother? All that type of stuff. Swerve does do the kind of comic book stuff. Sometimes I didn't like it at first, and now it's starting to weirdly pop me. At the beginning, I was kind of like, because he does this. He also does like a fake evil laugh too. Like he'll be like,
yeah, I don't like
what the hell? Like he was Static Shock villain. Like what's going on? But yeah, I'm mixed on it. I thought this was okay. You know, like I said, it was kind of funny to me. If you're gonna be silly like that, you might as well go even further. But then again, I know it's 2023 and like, you know, AEW is constantly trying to evade and avoid discourse. #discourse TM. So yeah, was what it was, I guess.
Yeah. As like I say, as much as I didn't want, go on.
No, I was gonna say quickly before we move on, I was gonna address a few of the comments, but I'll let you go first, innit?
Yeah, go for it. No, go for it. Go for it.
Cool. I was just gonna say, big up everyone in the comment section. We appreciate everyone in the comment section. There's a lot of comments to get through, but I'll get to the ones pertaining to this segment first. Here's a question from Justin Michaels. Says Swerve should get the TNT belt next. What are you man's thoughts on that? Quickly.
I mean, he wouldn't necessarily beat Christian Cage for it, just I think as a heel on heel dynamic, so they'll have to move somewhere first. But I think it's I wouldn't mind seeing it. Like Christian is doing a lot of good work for that title right now, so he's kind of reinvigorated that title, as opposed to when we were kind of desperate for Swerve to win it. It was still wallowing with the likes of Wardlow and Sammy Guevara and stuff like that. We were just desperate to see Swerve, you know, progress. But now I think is definitely a better time. The international title, I guess, would be more so the one, if you can beat Orange Cassidy for it, which is quite viable. But yeah, I think definitely some type of silverware to keep him busy as well is needed.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Ibou?
I think he should win the world championship.
I think that's more so in the pipeline now that he's put it out there in the universe as well. And fans have kind of latched onto that as well. Obviously, we know with MJF, it's, you know, Jay White is running around with the title now. Adam Cole is someone that will come back into the picture, but it's kind of like you could probably say the fans' choice right now might actually be Swerve.
Mhm.
So yeah. After oh, you want to see this one?
No. I was just putting it on for like,
Let's see
it was a
the
funny comment.
Yeah. So after this segment, we had Adam Copeland. That segment where he spoke backstage of Renee and Sting and Darby got involved. Following that, we had a women's title match. Hikaru Shida was defending her title against Ruby Soho, and I have I want to say never. I've never seen a match like where I visibly said, oh, this isn't good. Like, and I don't want to point a finger and I don't want to blame anybody or anything like that. Because it takes two to tango. But obviously there was a spot early on where I think just they're moving slowly. Ruby Soho went like middle rope to do a cross body, and it's like Shida wasn't there in time, or she didn't allow her to get there in time. And like usually when I see people say this match was terrible or they've botched or something, you've kind of got like a preconception in your head maybe before you see it, and it's like, oh yeah, you're then watching it nitpicking and stuff like that. Like this is live-o probably one of the first few times I've seen just a bad match from scratch, and I was just like, this isn't good for this division, for the women's champion to be in there at the time, whether it was her fault or not. Yeah, it was just a very messy match. We saw like a finish, Eddie Guerrero-esque finish with this spray paint stuff. Ruby went to get the belt, came back, the belt got spray painted. It was just very messy from start to finish, and it just underlines what we sit here and say, no matter what channel, no matter what show every week, this AEW women's division is not getting better anytime soon. And after what I saw on this particular show, I'd almost say it's in decline. Ibou, what was your thoughts on this match?
Really awkward. Like, it just, very little of it looked good. Like, offensively, Sheeta's last kick looked really bad.
Yes, yeah.
Like, I don't know what happened here. I actually respect Ruby Soho as a wrestler, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with Ruby Soho. I think she's kind of the Outcast shenanigans didn't help this at all. The spray paint shtick and that type of thing. I think they agented it in a way where like they thought like that stuff was gonna add like drama to the near falls. Like I think they thought like, oh, she's gonna use the paint and people are gonna think, oh, that's the finish, and then Sheeta overcomes it with the belt and then this and that, and it's like it was clearly laid out to where like these things are gonna heighten up the suspense. But in execution, it just didn't come out like that. This wasn't very heated. I don't think the fans bought that Ruby was going to win the championship in the first place, so they didn't care. And then by the time it came to like that late stuff, the timing of all of it was not that great, and it just came off awkward. And Aubrey, I think it was Aubrey who's the ref, just looked kind of silly in the middle of like having to pretend like she's not seeing all these things happening right before her eyes. And then you get like a finish that like looks poor on Ruby. So I mean, yeah, done on Ruby, but. Yeah, didn't love this. Didn't love Tony dancing and gallivanting on the stage across from Sheeta either. So just an off 11 minutes of television.
Just quickly on that, who was that guy that came out with Tony? I was thinking, was that Luther? Was that Luther? Was it?
Yeah, it was Luther.
Yep. Oh, I was thinking that, but I was thinking obviously like has he had some type of character change or whatever. Okay, cool. NK, what was your thoughts on the match? Painful,
but yeah, like like if you like the adage, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. But I'll say something. This is the worst. I think this is the worst Hikaru Shida performance I've seen in AEW, and I love Hikaru Shida. I think she's like it's. I think it's sad to say that the best state the women's division was in was probably pandemic. Yes. I was the most like invested I was in the women's division, and Hikaru Shida had a big role to play with that. I think with Ruby Soho as well, I'm kind of tired of her being like, aside from like the performance itself, I'm tired of her being the perennial loser, in a sense where like I remember the first, I think with the TBS title tournament, she got to the final, lost to Jade Cargill. With I think there was a separate tournament for the women's title. No, I think it was a feud with Britt Baker, and then she lost for the women's title.
The Owen Hart thing. She
Yes,
lost in the final.
she lost to Owen. And it's like if you're, it's done damage to the point whenever I see her in a big match, in a prominent match, I automatically know she's gonna eat the pin. Like she's someone where they'll build her up just to let her lose. And I like Ruby Soho. Like when she first debuted in AEW, like with the whole Ruby Soho theme song. I was with it, and it just hasn't. It mostly because of the booking, it just hasn't clicked. And like we're coming up to the end of the year, and there's a popular trend that people do things we like to leave in 2023. Let's leave the Outcast in. Let's leave the Outcast this week. Like let's leave the Outcast stuff alone, because I feel like, I mean, the faction as a whole, like I just think was kind of a flop. But now it's like we're doing the spray paint thing for what?
Yeah,
Like,
literally for what?
like,
Where's it going? Like
yeah, like we're not going anywhere. And it's like they've teased like disillusion with the faction, but they haven't addressed it. Like they've teased dissension, but not paid off from it. But then you're still doing callbacks to the faction. Like what? Like I sound like a woman when I say I sound like in a relationship. But what are we? What are we doing? What's the relationship status? What's going on? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, I need clarity. I need closure. I need something. Because like right now I'm watching the product and I'm like, have the Outcast disbanded? No. Are they together? No. What are we doing?
It's a great question, to be honest with you. First of all, when the group was together, like it seemed at the beginning of the year like, oh, they're leading to some big match with like the originals or whatever, and then like kind of never came a big payoff with like a big grand payoff never came to pass at all. Like it never happened, and then it kind of just fizzled, and then Tony left, and now we're seeing the remains of the group, like literally just Ruby, just continuing to do the Outcast stuff that was never like that over or particularly good. So, I don't know, man. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, even from a point of, Saraya most recently was the women's champion, lost her title to Shida, and there seems to be no follow-up on that. And I'm definitely not saying that I need to see any follow-up on that. But, if you lose a championship, sorry, you kind of want to get it back and you want to go at the champion now. And she's just been off TV. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's a sad sight because they've got some talents there and there's some stuff that they can definitely show, and they've got more than enough TV time at this point. So yeah, you just think they could do a bit better.
I'm gonna say this, I'm obviously Tony Khan, is eyeing Mercedes, and Mercedes would be good, but I don't think her alone can save this division. But also, Mercedes is very vocal. Mercedes, is very vocal about her booking, as she should be. And my fear is if she comes to AEW and things aren't in proper effect, she's gonna talk. She's gonna talk. She's gonna talk, and as she should. You think?
Yeah, she don't care. Yeah, she
Oh,
literally
she don't
doesn't
care.
Yeah. I think with her though, and I'll be shocked if we see a whole graphic that she's all elite. I might even go as far as saying I'll be very disappointed if I see that. I'm here for her coming in, doing some bits and bobs, almost like a Will Ospreay type beat. But if she puts pen to paper and it's like a long-term thing, I must imagine that they've given her maybe the pen to the women's division and she's booking it or something, because I can't see why you would want to commit your future if we're talking literally about someone that left the company because her booking wasn't good and she wants to wrestle and really wrestle. I can't see why you would join AEW as a woman at this point for on a long-term basis. I can't see why.
So. Yeah, it's one of those weird things where, like, obviously I'd love to see Mercedes again, but I almost feel like none of the American companies particularly deserve her on a full-time basis, if that makes any sense. Like the divisions aren't good enough. The way that they book the divisions aren't good enough to warrant her, I guess, devoting her time full time to it. And so it's like, like you said, I'd like to see her pop in and have some cool matches with certain specific people. But a week in, week out Mercedes, like I just don't. I find it hard to visualize them getting the most out of that.
No.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on, we had backstage MJF. He's saying that he's ready for Kenny Omega. Samoa Joe pops in. Samoa Joe offers to be MJF's friend, and MJF kind of cartoonly like, yeah, so why not? Sure, like he's excited that he's got Samoa Joe on side, but of course there's a caveat. Samoa Joe is saying, "I'll be your friend, and I almost back you up and stuff like that, as long as I get another title shot." And Samoa Joe tells MJF to think about it.
Yeah, quickly, quick. That was a quick question. You know how they do the? I think they do a tournament leading into Full Gear for like the number one contender for Winter is Coming, right? I know there's a tournament around this period of time that leads to a number one contendership of Winter is Coming. Do you think that's what all of these opponents are being set up for? Because I think that would be an interesting thing where it's like, okay, we can't realistically do all of these feuds, but all of these men have like a motivation for MJF. Let's throw them in a tournament. And for once, a tournament would actually make sense.
So I was thinking, and we could talk about this now. Obviously, during the main event, which we'll get onto in a second, they announced the December pay-per-view, AEW World's End, which I love the name. And I'm just excited for more programming. The pay-per-view, I'm looking forward to it already. I was thinking it's a bit left field for AEW. Tournaments is, like you just mentioned, NK is in the bread and butter, it's in the DNA of AEW. What if we saw almost like a multi-man match at World's End for the title, involving some of these guys, if not
That's what
all
I think is happening.
You reckon that's what's going to happen?
Yeah, I predicted that too. I said, are we leading to some type of new stipulation or some type of multi-person match at the World's End with all these guys? Because there's no way Max is going to go one by one with every single one of them between now and the end of the year. I just don't think. I don't see it. That's not how Max tells his stories, to be honest with you. He likes to map things out broadly and focus on one guy for like, months. I think this is all setting up and converging at the end of that at that show. And I wonder what the stipulation is going to be. I don't see it just being like a fatal 4-way or 5-way, but I think it's going to be some type of like stipulation. And considering it's a new pay-per-view and you're going to need to sell the thing and it's a month after Full Gear, wouldn't shock me if they just tried a new stipulation of some kind. So I've seen people throw out King of the Mountain, which is a TNA stip. I wouldn't be opposed to them just straight up copying the Elimination Chamber and just giving it their own fucking AEW name or something.
Yeah.
The Eliminator Chamber, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah, that's I can see it being something like that, and because of the name World's End as well, it feels like everything just has to culminate here. That's the first thing I thought when I heard it be announced.
You know what that freaking evokes feelings of? What was the last wrestling pay-per-view that used to be in December that had a name that would suggest the end of the world?
Armageddon.
Yeah. I just when I hear World's End, and that's the vibe I get, So
yeah.
And the famous 2000 Armageddon pay-per-view ended in a 6-man Hell in a Cell,
which was historical. Yeah.
Yes, and Max is a Fed mark, so yeah, I could.
To be honest, that could be the match. Because that match hasn't been done for ages. Obviously, we see Hell in a Cells, but they don't do like 6-man Hell in a Cell. They've evolved.
What if we get the first ever What if we get AEW has never done a cage match with the top on it? They don't have a Hell in a Cell. What if this is the finally where we fucking do it? I don't know.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Yeah, with those guys, if we're talking about an MJF, a Jay White, a Kenny Omega, Samoa Joe, Wardlow, that's 5 of them. God knows they could probably add someone else if they
Roderick Strong. You could say if you want to do it.
Roddy, yeah, they could definitely work. Will be interesting. But yeah, that's the kind of vibe I got as well. Cool. So we're on to the main event. Big up everyone that's stuck with us. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the WrestleThings channel. Let's get into it. It was Orange Cassidy teaming with New Japan star boy Kazuchika Okada versus Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. Really good match. Obviously, for long parts in the match, everyone was waiting just for the 2 real stars of Okada and Danielson to meet again in the middle of the ring. But on either side of all of that, we've got some really good exchanges between Cassidy and Danielson and Cassidy and Castagnoli. The catch of I think it was Orange Cassidy that jumped into Castagnoli, just caught him, dropped him down, and started doing a swing. Was brilliant. It was so good. Okada was, you know, for me, he's just so silky without ever getting out of second gear. Like he's just not trying, sort of thing, but he still looks so good. Obviously, we got the big moment when those two were in the ring. The chops at first, you know, Okada was selling them, and I think just later on, like there was a chops across the chest, and he wasn't selling them to Danielson, just eating them up. Danielson later on got the Rainmaker for his troubles. There was the part in the match where I guess Okada he struck Danielson. This was towards the end. Danielson was obviously selling the face and stuff like that. He got knocked out of the ring by Castagnoli. Castagnoli then went after Orange Cassidy, hit him with the Superman punch or the uppercut. Sorry, I got the pin on Orange Cassidy. As a result of that, we're going to get Orange Cassidy versus Castagnoli next week for the All Atlantic title. But yeah, at the end of the match, there was kind of this, it came to across to me as a bit of like uncertainty whether it was real or not, or I'm sure this is obviously Danielson selling, and obviously the BCC came down. We saw Best Friends and, you know, their chaos relations, they came down to the ring to kind of hold back Okada and stuff like that. I guess this is somewhat going to build to, you know, the fact of, although Okada hasn't yet won a match in AEW, he's still getting the better of Danielson on this is 2 occasions now, with injuries. Ibou, how did you see this match and this kind of ending sequence of you know, what we were left with?
I had a great time with this. I thought this was really fun. You know, when I saw this match announced, I thought it was going to be a spectrum. The floor for this was going to be like a New Japan Road 2 show, Korakuen tag, where they just kind of get by on just being who they are, like all their big stars, and they just kind of play the hits. And the best version of this was going to be like one of the best TV matches of the year. And we felt kind of somewhere in the middle, but with some really hot action. A lot of fan service, man. Like you know, it's kind of hard not to get jazzed up when Okada and Danielson are in the ring. And so when they just kind of start going at it and Danielson's fucking just, you know, going hard, it's really exciting. It's really exciting. Claudio has great chemistry with Orange Cassidy, because Orange Cassidy does a lot of lucha, and Claudio is great at basing for him and stuff like that. He's strong. You can throw him around. He can roll around and stuff like that. So I had a really good time with this main event. Actually, I thought it was very, very good. And not much to say beyond that regarding the match. And as for the post match, it was interesting what they decided to go for. Like, out of nowhere, you look down at your phone, you check back up, and there's like 19 people in the ring, and Danielson's like having a seizure or whatever. And you know, Dragon's a freak, so he likes to just like, you know, make people believe he's hurt after every match. It's kind of his thing. Yeah. And it seems like the story of him and Okada is like, you know, he can beat Okada, but every time he faces him, he walks away with like a major injury. I don't know what's happening with the screen here. There we go. We're back.
There we go.
Okay.
My bad, guys.
No, you're good, man.
Randomly died, but yeah.
Yeah. It seems like he walks away with like big wounds after every match. And it looks like we're continuing that. I'm assuming now that this is going to the Tokyo Dome, I want to say, but maybe it doesn't. We'll see. It's just a nice treat to have Okada on Dynamite, honestly. Like, I stopped myself and just told myself, like, in the middle of it, I'm like, Okada and Bryan Danielson are just like trading forearms on an AEW Dynamite episode. Like, that's pretty crazy, you know. And in the same episode that like Rob Van Dam appeared, you know. What a freaking like fantasy fed this is. But yeah, the main event was great. The post match, I didn't really know what to make of most of it, and it wasn't maybe executed in a way where I was able to kind of tell. But I thought this was a really nice close to the show, and the best thing on the show for me, easily.
Yeah, it was probably the best match on the night.
100%.
NK, what was your thoughts of seeing these guys in the ring one more time?
Listen, man. Listen, Okada's one of like 2 GOATs in the ring. And yeah, like Ibou said, I think this is definitely leading to a Wrestle Kingdom match, which I think is not only needed because I feel like the Forbidden Door match never really got out of second gear, obviously now due to the Danielson injury, and plus it's one of those matches I need to see completed. And I think in Japan, in the Tokyo Dome. It's the perfect setting. But I want to give a big shout out to like Claudio Castagnoli. Like, I was a Cesaro fan in WWE. Yeah, big up Pro Wrestle Kid. Yeah. But I was a big fan of Cesaro in WWE, but Clark, I don't know. There's just something. I don't know whether it's just the added aggression or the fact that he's able to, wrestle, be more free when he's in the ring. But I look at Claudio just differently now, and the way like that swing, the swing he's been doing it for years, but it just seems so much more impactful these days when he does the swing, and just the sequences between Claudio and Orange Cassidy were tremendous, and people talk about it's become a running gag that every wrestler that joins AEW must join the G1. We want this wrestler in the G1. We want that wrestler in the G1. And half of these guys are capping. They're not going G1.
Yeah.
But Claudio, like, okay, put G1 to the side. I remember the match he had earlier. I think it was I believe Sakura Genesis, where it was Blackpool Combat Club versus Okada, Tanahashi, and Ishii. And Claudio was just going off on these guys. And I'm like, yeah, I want to see it. I really want to see it. At this point, even during this match, I said, I know we're going to get Danielson versus Okada. Why not set up on Dynamite? Let's do an Okada versus Claudio match as a setup match or something. Because I just want to see Claudio wrestle. Because every time I see him, I'm like, this guy's special. This guy's absolute. But yeah, overall, man, this is like one of my favorite Dynamite main events. And I was worried that we might get this in the middle of the show or so on and so forth. Like, this felt like a proper main event Dynamite match, and it was a treat to see, man. And these are the reasons why we spoke about, kind of AEW doing sports, like kind of doing sports entertainment adjacent things in the beginning of the show. When AEW sticks to their bread and butter, this is what AEW do best. No other company in the West provides what AEW can provide with these type of main events, where you just get not even just the fact that Okada's a New Japan guy, but just let the talent go out there and cook.
Yeah, I was just about to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, just let the talent go out there and cook, and that's what AEW does better in the West than anybody else when it comes to their product. And that's why their product can be so frustrating when it feels like they're trying to appease fans, or appease people that weren't checking for your product anyway. Like man that you're trying to appease with this sports entertainment stuff aren't watching you. They're watching WWE do it better than you. So do the stuff you do well. Do it weekly.
Yeah.
Literally, like it's like they're putting these Dynamites together, and they're like, how do we get WWE Gareth to get into Dynamite? And it's like, he doesn't care, bro. He doesn't care. He doesn't fucking give a shit. He doesn't care, bro. He doesn't fucking care. They need AEW is at their best when they're AEW. And they need to realize this. And I feel like sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And I don't mind variety on a wrestling show, but like I think it has to be variety within the context of still being AEW rather than variety of like genre, in the sense where it's like, hey man, you want a little bit of 2010s Raw on here? No, I don't. I really don't. I never asked for that. I never asked for that when I watch your product. I don't.
Do you think, especially in the last month or so, where a lot of us have discussed exactly this, do you think because of things like TV negotiations going on, they want to maybe appease the masses, and that's why they're attempting to bring this kind of stuff into their product? Although,
I think
we don't want it.
I think that's what they're doing. But the weirdest part about it to me is like they were very successful as a promotion doing what they were doing. They were selling tickets. They had great ratings. They had a very passionate and galvanized fan base doing what they were doing. And now that so this idea that we have to now turn into a variety show to get bigger, it's not a historically proven thing to be successful. Every promotion that has tried to just copy the WWF gets worse quality-wise and business-wise. Let's go through it, folks. 1999, WCW is getting their asses handed to them by WWF. They hire Vince Russo to bring in the Crash TV and take things, make Nitro Raw's War. They get worse. Their business tanks. TNA is an alternative, the X Division, the independent style wrestling, all that type of jazz, right? They bring in a bunch of ex-WWE guys. They get Hulk Hogan in there. They get rid of the six-sided ring. They go for a more Fed-light product, and business fucking goes in the shitter. AEW this year, they try to do more variety. You got the hokey gimmicks and the timeless Tony and the talentless Tane and the kangaroo kicks and the chips and so on and so forth. And guess what, folks? The rating is in for Dynamite. Let's read this out loud. Let's just go through this, folks. This variety show where embracing WWE helps them. We're looking at 774,000 viewers and a 0.24 and 18-49. I think AEW is at their best when they're AEW, and there was nothing wrong with it when it was AEW, and they were doing just fine. They did great at Arthur Ashe. They sold out Arthur Ashe. They had amazing pay-per-view buy rates. Their ratings were great. They were challenging Raw in some weeks in 2021 in the key demographic. So yeah, I'm not. This is not me dooming and glooming and acting like the product is terrible now. I'm just making the point that AEW was fine, and these people that you're trying to chase, these mythical people, they will never embrace what you're giving them because you're not what they want, no matter how much you imitate what they want. So
it'll always stick with me. I think it was Cody when he was still at AEW, the day he came out and said, "We are no longer the alternative, we are the competition." And I was like, I mean, you could still be an alternative, but you're going up against this other big brand. But yeah, the fact that we've seen them try to slowly change the product into something more, I guess, what people are used to on TV. Just give me, like I always say, 2019, 2020 AEW. That's what I've come here for, sort of thing. And I'm happy, and I feel like more and more we're moving back towards that, although there was a bit of a period just as early as a month ago. But yeah, we're doing the right things. Okada in a main event on Dynamite is what we came here for. We know we can't get that anywhere else at this level. So yeah, keep surprising us. Keep, all anyone's been talking about since Collision is Okada was going to be on Dynamite. So this is the kind of stuff that you guys are great at. Rampage, you've even talked about making that just like an international indie show sort of thing with AEW talents. Collision, is about 6 months old, maybe or so. And that's had a pretty decent start, despite people in the crowd always pointing out pictures of what the crowd looks like. The actual TV product is good. So they're doing all the right things. To be yourself, be the alternative. I don't think there's anything wrong with embracing being the alternative. And I think the growth of being, something brand new and refreshing, because it is still pretty much brand new, it will pay off. It's just, I hope it's not TV execs and stuff that are pushing them to change their product to be more like WWE.
Absolutely.
But guys, that was Dynamite. I think a pretty good show in general. We're moving towards the Full Gear pay-per-view, and then things are getting set up here and there. Any last words from yourself, NK or Ibou, before we get out of here today?
I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I really believe in what you guys do, and that's why I decided to kind of I'm more than open whenever you guys want to just pass by, because this is a good show you guys have going. So I'm happy to be on here. And for those of you who are in the audience just kind of listening to me for the first time, check out Wrestle Purists, man. Check out the Wrestle Purists channel and see what we got going on. A lot of different podcasts over there. Very huge spectrum of variety and opinions over on that channel. So definitely check us out. We do a lot of good stuff there. And in fact, we have a podcast later today reviewing Dynamite and going through the news as well. So definitely support that and check that out. But other than that, nothing else really to plug. I just appreciate the opportunity on the show.
Nah, man. Appreciate you having you on, Ibou, man. We're definitely gonna do this again for sure, man. We're definitely gonna do this again for sure, man.
100%.
Cool. So yeah, guys, big up Ibou for coming through. That's at Backup Hangman on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. I'm sure you're all following him or not. If you're not, you must be living under a rock already. I'm sure you've heard of him. But yeah, like you said, Backup Hangman on X. Wrestle Purists as well on Twitter as well as YouTube. Make sure you're following them. And of course, if you're new here, subscribe to WRESTHINGS. What I will say again, we got the podcast out tomorrow, the regular weekly podcast, so you can check that out as well. We'll be back same time next week to chop it up about Dynamite. So we'll see you guys then. Peace.